Hey guys, it's Misfit, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most arguably and most intelligent philosophers of ancient Greek, Plato, with my friend here, Hershey.
What's up?
Hershey, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Yep, my name is Hershey. As you can see, I'm a big Marvel fan. Got my Marvel shirt on. I love video games as well, and a lot of the similar music taste and like shows and video games as Misfit does. I'm looking forward to this video and getting to learn about ancient Greece and Plato.
I'm glad that you're excited to learn about Plato. I'm very excited to educate you as well. And how this video is going to be structured is, first, I'm going to be talking about the overview of Plato and his early life, and then we're going to be discussing the theory of forms, and we are going to be discussing Plato's dialogue, The Republic. So with that being said, what questions might you have for me, Hershey, before we dive into Plato's works?
What time frame was Plato around in Greece?
He was born in the early 400s BC, and then he died later in 300 BC, around the 300 BC era.
So he's been known for a very long time.
He's a very famous person, and people have been studying his dialogues for years. We only know Socrates through dialogues that Plato wrote.
Does he have any like works or manuscripts or arts or anything that are still around today or that were around for a very long time that we can use to reference like maybe what his life was more like and what kind of person he was like?
His early life isn't really known that well, just because it was 400 BC, but we do know a few things. His most famous work is called The Republic, which we're going to be getting into later in this video. Plato's early life is, he was a great student, he excelled very well in his school, and he played in the Isthmian Games. They wrestled and they boxed and they did other sports to celebrate the Greek ancient gods, and Plato was a wrestler. Their culture and sport of wrestling is unique and different from what we see it as wrestling. You're probably wondering, well, how did he get the name Plato? That's not his name, right? His real name is called Aristocles. Plato got his name from his coach. He himself was a Greek wrestler. His coach called him Platus, which is an adjective for Platon, which his name grew to be known as Plato. That's all we know about his early life, and then he met Socrates, which Socrates inspired him to have the passion for wisdom. Socrates is the master or teacher to Plato.
I have like a wonder. Like I wonder if like when he was wrestling, if a lot of pressure was put on Plato, because I guess he had to like honor the gods when he was wrestling, or did he not have to do that?
The sport itself is to honor the gods. And
Okay.
I think there was a lot of pressure. Well, because I mean, the whole city, it was in a Colosseum, the whole city of Athens was watching.
Oh, wow.
There was pressure, but I don't think it would be disrespectful if you lost. I would have to put more research into it because I didn't research that much about the Isthmian Games. I mean, Greek wrestling is a different sport from wrestling itself, but it still is very similar. We're going talking about the theory of forms. Are you ready to learn this concept?
Yeah, let's get it.
Let's get into the introduction of how this was introduced. How or why does this theory exist? You may be wondering. Socrates, Plato's master, was actually put down by the democracy government. Well, how did that happen? Socrates was asking questions about what is virtue, because people of authority were speaking of virtue. Socrates asked, what is virtue? They replied that they did not know. Socrates accused them that authority of not knowing nothing, and people of power don't like being told that they don't know nothing. And so Socrates was put down in the name of not respecting the gods. Plato left off of what is virtue, and that's how he created the theory of forms. And the theory of forms separates into two realms. Our realm being the physical realm, and the other realm being the theory realm. So I think that's the first thing to process. We're going to take a look at these cards here. One of them is bad, but that's okay because it's a bad Pokemon card. It's Shelter. He only has 60 HP. So take a look at these Pokemon cards. In totality, what are these things that you're holding?
Basic cards.
You're holding cards, but what kind of cards?
No, Pokemon cards.
Yeah, both of these cards have Pokemon cardness. We see 3 apples, both in different stages of decaying. We know that those are both different apples and that all apples decay, but they all have one thing in common, appleness, which is the essence of an apple. These are the essence of Pokemon cards, but obviously they're different. You see one of them is damaged, one of them is in good condition, and then both of them are different types too. So these are constantly changing.
They have both different colors.
And these cards are changing too. Like one day, there's going to be a day where these cards don't exist. They're going to decay. I mean, they're made of paper. Sure, we might have them for a while, but they're paper. They're going to decay just like everything else in this world. And every single thing is changing. In the realm of theories, which Plato called it, everything is not changing. Everything is perfect and idealistic. Let's take beauty, for example. What do you see as something that reminds you of beauty?
I took a trip to Yellowstone about a month ago, and it was up in the Smoky Mountains at Grand Teton National Park. Now, those mountains were unreal.
I understand. And can I see the cards, please?
Yes.
Just like the mountains and the Pokemon cards, with the mountains you see beauty. You're only seeing that through the vision of your senses. What Plato encouraged us to learn was our senses are nearly an illusion. Just like optical illusions, we cannot trust our senses. Now, yes, those mountains are real, but in the physical realm, there is pristine beauty that is non-changing. Like mountains are going to decay. There is a pure beauty that's not going to change, similar to the mountains inside of the realm of theories. You know what mountains are because each mountain's your mountainness, the essence of mountains. Like mountains can be different. You can have like a small mountain or a big old mountain or a line of mountains. We know what mountains is, and that contains mountainous. Like we understand the physical realm with our intelligence, but then we are here in the physical realm where we can only identify like these little parts of things. For beauty, for example, we understand parts of beauty, but we don't understand like the full concept because it only lies in the theory realm. And we identify that with our senses, but we can identify a fraction of understanding the theory realm with our knowledge and intelligence and our philosophical minds. If we have a desire for philosophy, we can grasp this concept and understand the theory of realms.
When you were talking about beauty, you said that's like kind of like not real.
The mountains, for example, that's all that you've seen. That's only a fraction of beauty according to this philosophy of Plato. You can only see with your senses the mountains. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Maybe it's just a little overview, like beauty and like the realms, how they like interact.
How do they interact with one another?
Maybe like what do they have in common?
Like I said earlier, if we had apples, we can see, smell, and taste apples. In this idealistic realm that Plato thought of, we can only grasp it with our knowledge. But nothing here in this physical realm is perfect, while on the other hand, in this realm is perfect. It is non-changing and is eternal. Plato believed that we have souls as humans, and you agree with that statement. When we were first born, we were in the theory of realms. We were wrapped in a body, and then we can see things and taste things that relate to these abstract concepts, and that reminds us of what we saw in the theory of realms, or the theory of forms.
Realm that we're not living in, the realm that is perfect and like has everlasting beauty. Is it as a copy of like Earth, or is that like a place that is not like Earth?
Not like Earth, because everything in Earth is decaying and changing.
Right.
Like, look around. There's going to be trees that are going to die. There's going to be bugs that are going to live and then later decay and die, such as plants, humans, animals, even plastic. I know that's really hard for it to decay, but it will one day. Constantly changing, even yourself. You are not the same person 10 seconds ago. Your cells died inside. We can't even imagine what it even looks like, because we've been living in this earth where it's changing constantly and everything is flawed. We can only grasp what this realm is just by a little bit. We don't know entirely what this realm is even remotely going to look like, just how we've been raised, because we've been raised to believe that everything is real and that beauty does exist and what you can see it as. And I'm biased. I mean, I have my own opinion. I'm just saying this, what I've been educated by Plato's words.
How would one know that like there's another realm or another place somewhere out there that is perfect?
We don't know that this world exists. Plato believed that it existed. With how like the origin of our bodies and souls, I feel like that's really realistic, because we don't know what happened when our souls were being created. But there's no proof of this realm being real. It's idealistic to Plato. And really, Plato was the first utopian thinker. He was the first idealistic thinker that would go out of his way and just brainstorm things that people never even thought of, or even I would think of, or other people I think could relate as well. He would think of, you know, this alternative realm that was perfect. He would think of a society that would be perfect. I mean, I would argue that he was above of his time. He was really sophisticated, intelligent thinker. Plato believes this is real. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now we're going to be moving on to Plato's most popular dialogue. Plato studied and he wrote 35 dialogues, but his most popular being the Republic. And you might be wondering, well, what is the Republic? Plato made the Republic after his master was put down by democracy, and he didn't like democracy. If I was in that time frame, in that situation, I wouldn't like it either. The Republic is essentially an alternative society and concept that would make society perfect and a utopia. There's three main natures of humanity. Desire, emotion, and knowledge is the three emotions that humans pursue their lives with. There's people who pursue their lives with knowledge or desire, and Plato used this to filter out what would be the best job for people using their nature that they use or they utilize and pursue their life with. So people would go to school at 10 years of age, and after 10 years they take this test. If they fail the test, then they would become a farmer or a merchant. 10 years later, fail a test, they're going to be an advocate for society, for health. Then if you got all the way to the top at 40, then you'd become a philosopher, and you would venture around the earth and get new experiences. And then if you came back after 10 or 15 years, then you would be of authority, because Plato believed firmly kings have to be philosophers and philosophers need to be kings. And I agree with that statement. We shouldn't have people in politics that don't understand what they're saying and are just people pleasing, trying to sound smart. That's not essential for a society or a government. And I think philosophers are people who are great thinkers and are passionate and are very intelligent. And even venturing around for 10 or 15 years in ancient Greek, that's going to give you a lot of intelligence and experience. I agree with Plato that those people would be great for government authority. Plato also put in the rule that they have to understand the theory of realms. And while this society doesn't exist, people do speculate that people are going to use it as a foundation or a building block to build their own society. Ultimately, I mean, we both know no society is perfect or is a utopia. And I believe myself that there won't ever will be, just because mankind is flawed. What's your opinion on that?
The world is not perfect, and then we can look as far back as since the beginning of time. No government is perfect. Every ruler has flaws in their own way. We might see rulers or presidents or government leaders as better or less flawed than another one, but as you know, no ruler is not flawed. If you look at history, almost any government in a time frame with a certain ruler, during that time frame, there's always going to be at least one conflict that is going to change the society or the government temporarily, for at least, or maybe even for the eternity. For me as a Christian, I believe that God created the world, that it was intended to be perfect. Adam and Eve sinned, and then that's what made everything imperfect. So I do believe that somewhere one day, that when God returns, there will be a perfect earth again.
I can totally see where you're coming from with your opinion and your statements.
Out of desire, emotion, and knowledge, which one of those do you think humans think is the most important out of those, and why?
I don't think that there's really a clear answer to that, because with people today, maybe they're people that will not directly tell you, but people showing their actions or things that they see as valuable, or even their own philosophy or ideology, what they think is most important, because they use that specific nature to pursue their life. And I mean, for me specifically, I think knowledge is the most important, but I'm a philosopher and I'm a philosophical thinker, and I use that to pursue my life. Really, everyone values different things, and everyone is pursued by emotion. Large amounts of people, I cannot emphasize, pursued by the emotion of desire and not so much by instinct, and I'm sure you could agree.
I do. For me, emotion's probably most important, and my view on it is you're saying, emotion can lead to desires and instinct. I do agree very much with that statement. If your emotions are mostly good, well, you're going to have good intentions and good desires. If they're mostly negative, well, you're going to have bad desires and pure desires, and that's seen as negative in the world today. But I also think that emotion can lead into knowledge, because I believe that there's a type of good knowledge and there's a type of evil knowledge. And if your emotions and your desires are more evil, you will lean into more of an evil knowledge, which will cause you to have evil desires and to maybe even do evil actions. I do believe myself that emotion is kind of the center of knowledge and desire, for my statement there.
I can see where you're coming from with that, and I think truly knowledge is power, and people can use knowledge for their own desires, which can be immoral and also can be moral. The two natures do definitely intersect.
How long would a person be in school for. But I know today, like 30, 40 years, that seems like a long time to be in school.
Yeah, it does. I do think that being constantly educated for that long of your life would be a great thing and would play a great part to society, but also through up to 50 years, which is the maximum, then that would take most of half of your life. The last time you're in school would be 40, and then you'd go off to venture. But then you'd come back at 50. That would be the end of the test. Then you would be a government official.
What was the average lifespan?
I forgot to mention this, but Plato founded his own school in the 320s era, which is called the Academy, which is a very unique and original name for a school. And there he taught dialect. You know what dialects are?
Is it kind of like English or language art?
It's a different language from your native language that has different grammar and vowels.
Oh, okay, so today that would be like learning like Greek.
It would probably be something like Japanese.
Okay.
They would study dialects, environmental science, and leadership. And I'm pretty sure that school lasted for 500 years. Plato's most famous student was Aristotle.
I've heard that name before. Did he start what we know today as school?
Ancient Greek and Plato especially did contribute greatly to what we know as school, and the Academy was one of the earliest organized schools of Western history. I wouldn't say that he specifically started it, but he definitely contributed it to a great amount. What do you think about Plato as a whole, and what's your thoughts on the Republic and the theory of Rome?
I think the theory of Rome takes a lot of out-of-the-box thinking. I kind of almost put it like as multiverse of madness in Doctor Strange. It takes a lot of deep, outside-the-box thinking. You can have very abstract thinking. It's something you would have to research and dig into. My thoughts on the Romans and this for the Republic. Very interesting. There's a lot to learn.
I think if the Republic was real, then it could be a perfect society.
I don't believe so, because like rulers make mistakes and that knowledge sometimes can lead to corruption.
I can understand totally of where you're coming from. What do you think of Plato as a philosopher?
That he had a lot of information and he wanted to change the world. Like he wanted people to see from different perspectives. I think he wanted us to understand like who we were as humans and who we were as a generation, so we can better understand what our purpose is and make lives better for everyone. That's why I believe he contributed so much to education, is that I think he believed education led to prosperity. Very wise, knowledgeable man.
I feel like he was very idealistic as a philosopher, and he strived for perfection, and he loved abstract concepts. When you look at Diogenes, his rival, they're complete polar opposites as philosophers, and I'm sure you would agree. You have learned a lot today, Hershey. We're going to see you guys next time on that philosophical episode.
We'll see you then.
I can write a hook fast, I can get straight to the cash. Y'all niggas come last, I'm first though. No, we Hershey.